Here's 100 million. Divorce me. My wife, Margarita, pushed a divorce agreement in front of me. Her breathtakingly beautiful face was as cold as ice, without the slightest trace of warmth. I was stunned, not because of the divorce, but because I had transmigrated into a novel, and not just any role. I had become Ethan, the pathetic simp second male lead in this contract marriage story. According to the original plot, I was supposed to cry and beg while desperately clinging to Margarita's leg, refusing to let go. What a joke. She was a cold billionaire CEO, the untouchable dream woman countless men worshipped from afar, not to mention the monthly allowance of 100,000 she gave me for being her obedient loser husband. Who wouldn't want a life like that? But unfortunately for her, I didn't want it anymore. 3 years of contract marriage, husband and wife in name only, because Margarita had always been in love with another man, the male lead, Ezekiel. To her credit, she at least had enough morals not to cheat on me, but I knew the plot. Very soon, Ezekiel would return to the country, and when that happened, the two of them would join forces to crush me, the pathetic second male lead, until I lost everything and died miserably on the streets. To hell with being a loser. To hell with being a simp. I quit. Chapter 1. 100 million. I picked up the divorce agreement and lightly tapped the number with my finger. Margarita's grip on her fountain pen tightened slightly, and a flicker of disgust crossed her eyes. Not enough, she said coldly, her voice as icy as her expression. Ethan, don't be greedy. For the past 3 years, you've lived off me completely. 100 million is more than enough for you to waste away the rest of your life. I laughed. Did she seriously think I'd react like the original Ethan, begging her not to leave like some hopeless simp? Enough. Of course it's enough. I picked up the pen and signed my name at the bottom in 2 swift strokes. Ethan Chan. The handwriting was sharp and confident, completely different from the weak, spineless scribbles of the original owner of this body. When will the money arrive? I pushed the agreement back toward her. Margarita froze. All the humiliation and mockery she had prepared instantly got stuck in her throat. For the first time, genuine shock appeared in her beautiful phoenix-shaped eyes. She stared at me intensely, as if trying to find even the tiniest trace of disguise, reluctance, or pain on my face. Too bad for her. She found none. My expression was calm, if anything. I looked eager. Tomorrow. She forced the word out through clenched teeth, all the color draining from her face. Great, then I'll move out today. I stood up and stretched lazily. My joints cracked pleasantly throughout my body. This body really was top tier. 6'2", built from years of training, with perfect abs and a sculpted V-line. A shame the original Ethan had been such a spineless coward. From today onward, this body belonged to me. I turned and walked away without looking back at her once. My departure so decisive it felt like I was leaving behind a complete stranger. Behind me came a harsh scraping sound. I didn't even need to turn around to know what happened. Margarita's fountain pen had gouged a deep scratch across the expensive pearwood desk. Damn, that felt good. And this was only the beginning. Back in my room, I didn't feel the slightest attachment to anything there. I couldn't even be bothered packing a suitcase. Once you had money, what couldn't you buy? I simply made a phone call. Cole, it's me, Ethan Chan. The person on the other end fell silent for a full 3 seconds before finally replying in a respectful yet confused tone. Chan, young master, what instructions do you have for me? Cole. Officially, he was my assistant. In reality, he was a spy planted by the Sioux family to monitor me, but later in the original story, Ezekiel would frame him, nearly sending him to prison. The original Ethan had desperately borrowed money everywhere to save him. From that moment on, Cole became Ethan's one truly loyal subordinate. Now, I was recruiting him early. I've got a job for you, I said directly. Tomorrow, there'll be 100 million in my account. Use 50 million to buy the abandoned chemical factory land in the southern suburbs. I don't care what price you pay. The southern suburbs, chemical factory. Cole sounded utterly shocked. Young Master Chan, that place is remote, polluted, and completely worthless. Why buy it? Of course he was shocked, because in half a month, the government would announce plans for a brand new high-tech industrial park. Right on that land, its value would skyrocket 100-fold overnight. Just buy it. Stop asking questions, I said lazily. Use the remaining money to find me a place to live, somewhere quiet, with a huge kitchen. Then hire me 8 chefs, 1 master for each of the major regional cuisines. Also get me a brewer, someone who knows how to make baijiu, yellow wine, and rice wine. I paused before adding, oh, and bring me a golden retriever too. Silence. Complete silence. I could practically imagine Cole's expression right now, like an old man staring at his phone on the subway in utter confusion. Buying useless land, hiring 8 chefs, brewing alcohol, raising a dog. Even rich playboys weren't usually this outrageous. Young Master Chan, you and Madam, Cole asked cautiously. We're divorced. I hung up the phone, feeling refreshed. Starting tomorrow, I was going to live the ultimate carefree dream life. Chapter 2. The bank notification arrived the next morning, even more punctual than an alarm clock. Your account ending in XXXX has received 100 million. 00. I stared at the endless string of zeros and felt completely refreshed. Cole worked fast. By noon, he had already called me back, though his voice still sounded slightly dazed. Young Master Chan, the house has been arranged. It's in White Cloud Manor, a standalone villa with a heated swimming pool and an oversized kitchen. Completely matches your requirements. The 8 chefs and the brewer have also been contacted and can start anytime. As for the golden retriever, the land, I interrupted. That's been purchased too. Cole sounded even weaker now. It cost a total of 48 million. Once the seller heard someone actually wanted it, they raised the price on purpose. They practically treated us like suckers. Well done. I nodded in satisfaction. As for the remaining money, handle it yourself. Set up an investment company and take charge of it. From now on, you work for me. Your annual salary, let's start with 2 million. 2 million. Cole's voice cracked on the spot. As a senior assistant at the Sioux Corporation, he worked himself half to death for barely 700,000 to 800,000 a year, and now this so-called pathetic ex-husband was casually offering him 2 million. Too little. No, not little at all. Thank you, young Master Chan. From today onward, Cole, will go through fire and water for you. His voice trembled with excitement. I knew it wasn't entirely because of the money. More importantly, I had given him something Margarita never had: respect and trust. I handed over a 100 million operation to him without even blinking. Even Margarita didn't have that kind of boldness. Once everything was settled, I drove the cheapest Porsche in the original owner's garage straight to White Cloud Manor. The new house was excellent, modern minimalist style, with massive floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking endless greenery. The first thing I did was ask the chefs of the 8 major cuisines to each prepare one signature dish for me. Dompa pork that melted in the mouth without feeling greasy. Buddha jumps over the wall with its rich, luxurious flavor. Mapo tofu so spicy and satisfying it practically punched your soul awake. Life was ultimately about eating and drinking. All that so-called hard work and ambition. It was only so people could enjoy moments like these with a clearer conscience. After eating and drinking my fill, I swam in the heated pool for half an hour, letting the pleasant buzz from the alcohol fade away. The lines of my 8-pack abs became even sharper. Looking at the outrageously handsome face in the mirror, I couldn't help sighing. The only downside of transmigrating into a novel might be needing a mask every time I went outside. Just as I was about to head upstairs for an afternoon nap, my phone rang. An unfamiliar number. I answered casually. Ethan. It was Margarita. Her voice was still cold and distant, but somehow, there seemed to be less superiority in it now, and something more complicated underneath. What is it? I asked calmly while drying my hair. You didn't go back to the family estate today. She paused before continuing. Only then did I remember. According to the agreement, the divorce had to remain hidden from both families for now. The original Ethan used to visit the Chan family estate every week to keep up appearances. I forgot. I answered honestly. Silence came from the other end of the line. I could practically picture her frowning. Forgot. The men who once memorized her schedule more thoroughly than the digits of pi had actually forgotten something this important. Grandfather is very angry, Margarita said icily. You'd better explain it to him yourself. All right, got it. I was about to hang up and return to enjoying my peaceful afternoon. Wait, Margarita suddenly spoke again. That land in the southern district, you bought it. I raised an eyebrow. Her information network was pretty fast. Yeah, problem. Have you lost your mind? She sounded genuinely unable to understand. Ethan, I know you want to prove yourself after getting the money, but this isn't a reason to act recklessly. You should spend that money more carefully. Otherwise, when the time comes, Miss Sue, I interrupted with a smile. How I spend my money doesn't seem to have anything to do with you anymore, does it? You. And one more thing. Don't call me Ethan. It sounds too intimate. I paused deliberately. Call me your ex-husband. Then I hung up immediately. Listening to the dead tone from her phone, Margarita tightened her grip unconsciously. For the first time in 3 years, she began doubting her judgment of this man, because Ethan really seemed different now. Chapter 3. That weekend, I still went back to the old Chan family estate. Not to put on a show, purely because, in the original owner's memories, the old man had treated him fairly well. The moment I stepped through the door, a teacup flew past my ear and shattered against the floor. You ungrateful bastard, you still remember this place exists? Old Master Chan's beard trembled with rage as he pointed his cane straight at me. I heard you divorced Margarita. Who the hell gave you the guts to do that? You've humiliated the entire Chan family. My parents stood nearby sighing non-stop, while my so-called younger brother, Tony, looked positively thrilled by the drama. Big brother, that was way too impulsive of you. He smirked. Sister-in-law, oh wait, Margarita is such an amazing woman. How could you possibly let her go? I couldn't even be bothered responding to him. That little snake had sabotaged the original owner plenty of times in the novel. He'd been dying to see me get kicked out by the Sue family. Grandpa, I'm the one who wanted the divorce, I said calmly. You. The old man raised his cane again. Margarita already has someone in her heart. You knew that. I spoke evenly. You can't force love. Instead of making 3 people miserable, it's better if I'm the one who walks away. Your grandson isn't that pathetic. The cane froze midair. His cloudy eyes locked onto me, as though he wanted to see through me completely. After a long silence, he let out a deep sigh and lowered the cane. Forget it. Children will live their own lives. Just like that, the family storm dissolved with barely any effort. The smug look on my bargain bin brother Tony's face instantly stiffened. After leaving the estate, I headed straight for a private members-only art gallery. According to the original novel, there would be a small cello recital there today, and the heroine, Letitia, would appear. I wasn't there to deliberately engineer some cliché, chance encounter. It was simply that my laid-back life plan required a little refined art to nourish my soul, and if I happened to meet that angel-like girl along the way, even better. The recital was phenomenal. The performer was an internationally renowned master, but the girl sitting beside me drew far more of my attention. She wore a simple white dress. Her long hair flowed like silk, and her skin was pale as porcelain. Unlike everyone else sitting stiffly in their seats, she tilted her head slightly, eyes closed, fingers lightly tapping against her knee with the rhythm of the music. A faint smile lingered on her lips. She wasn't merely listening to the music, she was enjoying it. That pure sense of joy made her seem like she was glowing. When the piece ended, thunderous applause erupted through the hall. She opened her eyes at last, clear, gentle eyes like a deer's. Turning her head, she met my gaze, seemingly a little shy. She smiled at me. You like Rachmaninoff too? She asked softly. I wouldn't say I like him. I shook my head. It's more that his music feels full of life. No matter how hopeless things get, there's always light waiting at the end. Just like me. Her eyes immediately lit up. A soulmate. She extended her hand. I'm Letitia. Ethan. I took her hand. Her fingers were soft and slightly cool to the touch. An excellent handshake experience. Your name sounds really nice too. She smiled, her eyes curving into crescents. My mom always says guys named Ethan are gentle. I laughed. Ma'am, you may have misjudged me. The man standing in front of you is bad news. We talked effortlessly. From classical music to modern poetry. From Sudonpa to Van Gogh. I realized Letitia was far more knowledgeable than I'd imagined. And she always managed to see beauty in things from unique angles. Talking to her felt like taking a walk through a warm spring breeze. It's getting late. I should head home. She glanced at her watch, clearly reluctant to leave. Want me to drive you? Sure. She agreed without the slightest awkwardness. The moment we stepped out of the gallery, a blazing red Ferrari pulled up in front of us. The car window rolled down, revealing a beautifully made-up face filled with hostility. Letitia, why are you with someone like him? Chapter 4. The person who arrived was Letitia's friend, and Margarita's best friend, Hannah, a textbook snob. In the original novel, she'd spent plenty of time helping Margarita mock the original owner. Hannah, what are you doing here? Letitia looked surprised. Hannah stepped out of the car and gave me a disdainful once-over, not even trying to hide the contempt in her eyes. If I hadn't come, you'd probably already be tricked away by some sketchy loser. She turned to Letitia and grabbed her hand. Letitia, do you even know who he is? He's Ethan, Margarita's famously pathetic ex-husband. Margarita just dumped him, and now that he got a little money, he suddenly thinks he's somebody. Stay away from men like him. Her voice was perfectly calibrated, loud enough for nearby pedestrians to hear. Several curious gazes immediately turned our way. Letitia frowned and gently pulled her hand back. Hannah, he's my friend. Friend? Hannah looked like she'd just heard the biggest joke in the world. Letitia, you're way too innocent. A guy like him is obviously trying to marry up because your family's rich. Margarita said he used to cling to her like a desperate simp she couldn't shake off. Now he's probably trying the exact same thing again. I crossed my arms and watched her performance with amusement, like watching a hyperactive monkey putting on a circus act. Finished? I asked calmly. Hannah visibly choked under my steady gaze. If you're done, move aside. You're blocking my car. I pointed behind her Ferrari, toward my, completely ordinary, Porsche. Her face instantly turned the color of liver paste. Ethan isn't the kind of person you think he is. Letitia stepped in front of me and spoke seriously to Hannah. I trust my own judgment. Wow. Unconditional trust. That felt surprisingly good. Letitia, have you lost your mind? Hannah exploded. I haven't. Letitia shook her head, then turned back to me with a smile. Let's go. My mom's waiting for me to come home for dinner. I nodded, opened the passenger side door, and gestured politely. After you. Letitia climbed into the seat and waved at the dumbfounded Hannah outside. I pressed the gas pedal, and the car smoothly pulled away. In the rearview mirror, Hannah's figure grew smaller and smaller until she looked like a ridiculous little black dot. Sorry about that. Letitia looked a little embarrassed. Hannah doesn't actually mean any harm. She's just very blunt. It's fine. I smiled faintly. If a rabid dog bites me, I can't exactly bite it back, can I? Letitia froze for a second before bursting into laughter. The atmosphere inside the car instantly became lighter. You're actually pretty funny. Average. Only ranked 3rd in the world. We chatted the entire drive, and before long, we arrived at the Mu family estate. It was even more impressive than I'd imagined. Want to come in for some tea? Letitia invited me. I shook my head. Maybe another time. I still have something to do tonight, namely, going home to enjoy my luxurious 8-cuisine dinner. All right. A trace of disappointment flickered across her face, but she still nodded obediently. Drive safe. Then, oh, right, this is for you. She handed me a small scented pouch embroidered with a crescent moon. I got this protection charm from a temple. I hope it brings you good luck. I accepted the pouch. A faint gardenia fragrance drifted from it, the exact same scent she carried. Thank you. Watching her disappear through the gates, I lifted the pouch to my nose and inhaled softly. I had to admit, being cared about by a genuinely wonderful girl felt pretty nice. Unfortunately, that good mood didn't last long. The moment I got home, Cole called me in a panic. Young Master Chan, this is bad. Something happened. Chapter 5. What happened? Slow down. I poured myself a cup of freshly brewed rice wine and took a sip. Sweet, smooth, and crisp. Even if the sky collapsed, it could wait until I finished my drink. The land we bought, it got exposed. Cole sounded like he was on the verge of tears. The internet is tearing us apart right now. They're saying we colluded with government officials and got insider information ahead of time. Even the Sioux Group stock price got dragged down. It's already dropped nearly 5%. Oh, I wasn't surprised at all. This was Ezekiel's doing. In the original novel, the first thing he did after returning home was use this exact incident to attack Margarita and pressure her into surrendering power. Only this time, the scapegoat had changed from Margarita to me, and it gets worse. Cole continued frantically. The business regulators and tax authorities have already formed a joint investigation team. They're moving into our newly established company tomorrow. Young Master Chan, are we supposed to run? Run from what? I laughed. If you've done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to fear. Let them investigate. They won't find a single problem. The money I used came directly from the divorce settlement. Completely legitimate. The land purchase contract was a standard business transaction, and we'd even paid above market value. What exactly were they supposed to uncover? But, public opinion. Public opinion is like the wind. It blows around for 2 days and disappears. I finished the rice wine and said calmly, instead of worrying about online haters, go contact the biggest construction companies. Why construction companies? Cole sounded utterly confused again. The tech park still needs to be built, doesn't it? I replied matter-of-factly. We'll sell the land to the government, then take the construction contract ourselves. Profit on both ends. That's what you call professionalism. A long silence followed on the other end of the line. Cole felt like his brain could no longer keep up with my train of thought. What was supposed to be a catastrophic crisis somehow turned into a brand new business opportunity the moment it reached me. After hanging up, I opened the internet. The #1 trending topic was #Ethan Insider Trading hashtag. The moment I clicked in, endless insults flooded the screen. Knew this gigolo was shady from the start. Investigate him. Seriously investigate him. First he gets $100 million divorce payout. Now he perfectly buys the dip. Obviously something dirty is going on behind the scenes. President Sue must have been blind to marry someone like this. Among them, a finance blogger called Mr. Lin the Justice Warrior was especially active, jumping around non-stop and presenting all kinds of so-called evidence while confidently claiming I must be backed by some massive criminal business empire. No need to think about it. Behind that fake account was definitely Ezekiel Lin. I read through everything with great enjoyment. I even gave one of his posts a like. Right then, Margarita called again. This time, her voice carried suppressed anger and exhaustion. Ethan, what exactly are you trying to do? Watching the news, I answered confidently. Do you have any idea how much the Sioux Group stock has dropped because of you? Do you know you've become a complete joke across the entire business world? Oh, I yawned lazily. So what, Margarita Sue? We're divorced. Whether your stock goes up or down has absolutely nothing to do with me. And as for being a joke, we'll see who gets the last laugh. You're impossible. Her voice trembled with rage. I'm telling you right now, I've already instructed the legal department to begin full asset separation immediately. We're cutting all ties with you. Great. Please hurry. I even urged her on. Honestly, I was already annoyed enough that she kept interfering with my peaceful laid-back lifestyle. Margarita was probably driven insane by my utterly indifferent attitude because she hung up immediately. I set my phone down and was just about to go take a bath when another call came in. It was Letitia. I answered. and her voice carried a cautious hint of concern. Ethan, are you okay? I saw the news online. What could possibly happen to me? I smiled faintly, my mood inexplicably improving. Don't be scared. Her voice was soft, but unusually firm. I believe you. If you need a lawyer, my dad knows the best lawyers in the country. At that moment, I had to admit it. My heart was gently shaken by this silly girl's trust. Sometimes, the admiration of thousands means less than a single unconditional, I believe you, spoken in the dark. Chapter 6. The next day, I woke up naturally without an alarm. I pulled open the curtains. The sunlight was perfect. Right on cue, Cole called me, his voice overflowing with the exhilaration of someone who had narrowly escaped disaster. Young Master Chan, you're a genius. The investigation team came and went after digging through all our accounts, and they found absolutely nothing. They even released an official statement saying our transactions were completely legal and compliant. Exactly as expected, I yawned. And another thing, the construction companies you told me to contact are practically fighting each other for a chance to work with us. The city government also sent word that they'd be very interested in discussing future development projects. Handle all that yourself. I sounded utterly uninterested. Just don't interrupt my breakfast. Yes, understood. After hanging up, I looked at the luxurious breakfast spread on the table. Crab roe soup dumplings, crystal shrimp dumplings, century egg and lean pork congee. Life should be this simple and unpretentious. Online public opinion had completely flipped overnight as well. Hashtag Ethan law-abiding citizen hashtag and hashtag official statement clears Ethan hashtag shot to the top of the trending charts. The same netizens who had been tearing me apart yesterday instantly switched sides and started pitying me as the poor victim of cyberbullying. I knew it. A guy that handsome can't possibly be evil. His ex-wife started smearing him the second they divorced. What a vicious woman. Feeling bad for Ethan. Sending hugs. Meanwhile, Mr. Lin the Justice Warrior, who had been jumping around non-stop yesterday, had already deleted all his posts and vanished into hiding. I scrolled through the comments laughing my head off. Right then, another call came in. Margarita. I hesitated for a moment but answered anyway. Silence lingered on the other end for a long time. If you've got something to say, say it already. I was getting impatient. I'm sorry. Hearing those words come out of her mouth was more shocking than Mars crashing into Earth. I raised an eyebrow. I was too impulsive yesterday. Her voice was low and slightly hoarse. Looks like the Sioux Group stock price had recovered. Oh, I responded flatly. How did you know? She still couldn't stop herself from asking the question weighing most heavily on her mind. Know what? About the South City land. Pure luck. I lied casually. Margarita Sue obviously didn't believe me. Once might be luck, but twice, 3 times. From smoothly handling the divorce, to perfectly buying the dip, to resolving the crisis so effortlessly, this man was becoming a mystery she could no longer understand. Ethan, can we meet? It was the first time she'd ever spoken to me in such a negotiative tone. No time. I rejected her immediately. I'm going to an auction. Then I hung up again. She wanted to see me now. Too late. Back then, you treated me like I was beneath your notice. Now, I'm someone you can't even dream of reaching. This charity auction was one of the biggest annual events among H-City's elite circles. I wasn't there to show off. I came because I knew one of tonight's auction items would be extremely useful to me. Dressed in a custom-tailored casual suit, I sat lazily in a corner. Before long, I became the center of attention anyway. Couldn't be helped. I'd been making too many headlines lately. Staying low-key was practically impossible. Quite a few people approached with wine glasses, trying to get close to me, but I brushed them off with a few casual remarks. Then 2 familiar figures entered the venue, Margarita, and the man beside her. He wore a white suit, elegant and refined, carrying himself with effortless grace. It was the man Margarita had always longed for, Ezekiel. The moment he appeared, all eyes in the room shifted toward him. Isn't that Ezekiel Lin from the Lin Group? I heard he just returned from overseas. A young elite indeed. Standing next to President Sue, they look absolutely perfect together. What does Ethan even count for? Just a gigolo living off his ex-wife. He's not even worthy of carrying Ezekiel's shoes. The whispers buzzed into my ears like mosquitoes. Margarita's expression turned slightly unnatural as she instinctively glanced in my direction. Meanwhile, Ezekiel wore the smile of a victor and walked straight toward me. Mr. Chan, I've heard a lot about you. He extended his hand, smiling warmly. I lounged lazily in my chair without moving an inch. Sorry, I don't have a habit of shaking hands with people who already lost. Chapter 7. The air instantly froze. The smile on Ezekiel's face stiffened. The rich second-generation heirs around him who had been waiting to watch me embarrass myself were all stunned too. No one had expected me to be this direct, leaving absolutely no room for dignity. Mr. Chan certainly has a sense of humor. The corner of Ezekiel's eye twitched. but he quickly regained his refined gentlemanly expression. What happened online before was just a misunderstanding. My friend acted too impulsively. I've already reprimanded him. Friend. What a clean way to dump the blame. Really? I curled my lips slightly. Then apologize to me on behalf of your friend. Preferably on your knees. You. Ezekiel's expression finally changed. Even Margarita, standing behind him, frowned and said coldly, Ethan, enough is enough. Oh, feeling protective now, I looked at her and smiled. What's wrong? Standing in front of the men you actually love, you suddenly don't recognize your ex-husband anymore? Margarita's face instantly turned pale. A wave of suppressed laughter spread through the crowd. Ethan, don't go too far. Ezekiel stepped forward, putting on the posture of a protector. Too far. I stood up slowly, towering half a head above him as I looked down at him. I haven't even started yet. Ezekiel, want to guess what tonight's final auction item is? Ezekiel froze. I ignored him completely and walked straight toward the front row seats. The auction officially began. The earlier items, jewelry, paintings, antiques, prompted constant bidding from the crowd. Trying to regain face, Ezekiel threw money around lavishly and bought a landscape painting from a former dynasty for $5 million, earning himself a wave of applause. He shot me a smug glance full of provocation. The entire time, I never raised my paddle once. I looked more like an uninvolved outsider. Honestly, I was almost falling asleep. That was until the host excitedly announced, and now, our final featured item of the evening, a one-of-a-kind Celadon brewing set handcrafted by the legendary master brewer, Elder Lou. The entire venue erupted. The brewing set was exquisitely crafted and extremely valuable as a collector's item, but more importantly, Elder Lou was the personal brewer of Old Master Tang, the legendary titan of H-City's business world. Old Master Tang was wealthier than entire nations, yet lived in seclusion. His only real hobby was fine liquor. Whoever obtained this brewing set would essentially gain a ticket to meeting Old Master Tang himself. Ezekiel's eyes lit up instantly. His company had recently been trying to secure a major project from the Tang Group but had no way to establish a connection. This was practically heaven sent. 1 million. He raised his paddle first. 1.2 million. 1.5 million. The price climbed rapidly. Meanwhile, I remained motionless. Margarita glanced at me. Her expression complicated. She probably thought I was out of money. Eventually, the bidding skyrocketed to 8 million. Only Ezekiel and a real estate tycoon remained in competition. 10 million. Ezekiel gritted his teeth and shouted an astronomical price. The crowd collectively inhaled sharply. The real estate tycoon shook his head and withdrew. 10 million going once. 10 million going twice. The host shouted excitedly. A victorious smile spread across Ezekiel's face. Just as the hammer was about to fall, I lazily raised my paddle. 20 million. Dead silence. Every gaze in the room landed on me like spotlights. He's insane. This spendthrift had completely lost his mind. 20 million for a brewing set. Ezekiel's face instantly shifted from red to deathly green. He glared at me as though he wanted to kill me with his eyes alone. Mr. Chan, what exactly is the meaning of this? No special meaning. I shrugged casually. I just think the thing looks nice. Should make a pretty stylish dog bowl for my golden retriever. Puffed. Someone burst out laughing first. Then the entire venue exploded into roaring laughter. Using a 20 million antique as a dog bowl. This wasn't flaunting wealth anymore. This was performance art. Ezekiel looked like his lungs were about to explode from rage. He wanted to keep bidding, but he'd already spent heavily on the painting earlier, and his company's cash flow was tight. More importantly, he couldn't afford to lose face like this. 20 million. Sold. The hammer slammed down. Under the attention of the entire room, I leisurely walked on stage and swiped my card. As I passed by Ezekiel, I paused, patted him lightly on the shoulder, and whispered in a voice only the two of us could hear. Remember this, problems that can be solved with money aren't real problems. And unfortunately for you, you have plenty of problems and very little money. Chapter 8. After the auction ended, I became the newest legend in H-City's upper-class circles. Not because I was rich, but because I was crazy. No one could understand my moves. Margarita and Ezekiel, meanwhile, became the biggest jokes in the social circle. One had been publicly humiliated by her ex-husband. The other had been crushed by a romantic rival using nothing but money. Rumor had it that Ezekiel smashed that 5 million painting the very same night. As for me, I couldn't care less. I was too busy in the courtyard of my new house, fiddling with my 20 million dog bowl. Cole stood nearby looking like he desperately wanted to say something, his expression more constipated than constipated people themselves. Young Master Chan, you're really letting the golden retriever use that thing? My golden retriever, Richie, was happily circling around the Celadon brewing set, occasionally sticking out his tongue to lick it. Otherwise, I glanced at Cole. Did you seriously think I knew anything about brewing wine? Cole fell silent. He felt like his entire worldview was being pinned to the ground and rubbed against it over and over by me. Right then, the doorbell rang. Cole went to answer it, and a moment later he returned leading an elderly man dressed in a traditional Tang suit, looking sharp and full of energy. "Young Master Chan, this gentleman is Uncle Tang." I smiled and stood up to greet him personally. The visitor was none other than the chief steward of the Tang family, Uncle Tang. "Ethan, quite the refined hobby you have." Uncle Tang glanced at the brewing set in the yard, then at the golden retriever wagging its tail beside it. A faint smile flashed through his eyes. "You flatter me, Uncle Tang. I'm just playing around. If old Lou ever found out you're using his life's masterpiece as a dog bowl, he'd probably leap out of his grave from rage." Uncle Tang shook his head. I smiled without responding. I knew perfectly well that Elder Lou was still alive and well. This was simply a test. Uncle Tang didn't come all the way here just to mourn an imaginary dead friend, did he? I poured him a cup of freshly brewed yellow wine. He took a sip, and his eyes immediately lit up. "Excellent wine. Smooth on the tongue, mellow on the finish. Looks like you truly are a fellow enthusiast. It's nowhere near old Master Tang's private collection." "Ethan." Uncle Tang set down the wine cup and got straight to the point. "Let's not waste words. The old master is very fond of this brewing set. Name your price." I shook my head. "Uncle Tang, I'm not selling it." His brows immediately furrowed. "I'm giving it to the old master," I continued calmly. Uncle Tang froze. "Giving it away? Something bought for 20 million, handed over for free. I only have one condition." I looked at him steadily. "For the West City New District project that the Lin Group wants to bid on, I hope the Tang family will treat every bidder fairly." I didn't directly ask the Tang family to give the project to me, because I knew people like old Master Tang very well. The more detached and unconcerned you appeared, the more highly they valued you. Uncle Tang looked at me deeply, admiration filling his eyes. "I understand." He nodded slowly. "The old master will gladly accept this generous gift. If you have time someday, please visit our humble residence. I'm sure the old master would greatly enjoy discussing the art of wine with you." After Uncle Tang left, Cole looked at me as though he were staring at an actual god instead of just a genius. "Young Master Chan, how did you know the Tang family steward would come?" I guessed. I obviously couldn't tell him I'd read it in the novel. In the original story, after Ezekiel obtained the brewing set, he excitedly delivered it to old Master Tang, only to be directly thrown out by Uncle Tang, because old Master Tang despised people whose motives were painfully obvious. Meanwhile, I had done the exact opposite. First, I acted completely indifferent toward the brewing set. Then I freely gifted it away while asking only for fair competition. The contrast between us was crystal clear. One was a vulgar businessman obsessed with profit. The other was an elegant gentleman who treated money like dirt. Which one old Master Tang would prefer didn't even need to be said. Chapter 9. The news spread through the entire social circle almost immediately. My title of madman gained an additional modifier, the unfathomable madman. As for me, I was living my dream life inside the villa. During the day, I worked out, played with the dog, and watched the chefs compete against each other like martial arts masters. At night, I drank wine, read books, and occasionally exchanged messages with Letitia. Our relationship progressed rapidly. She would share funny stories from school, while I sent her dumb but adorable videos of Richie. She complained about how her ragdoll cat, Lucky, was way too cold and aloof, and I told her that Richie had already fallen hopelessly in love with Lucky on his own. One day, she sent me a photo. In it, she wore a pale yellow loungewear set and was busy in the kitchen. There was a little flower on her cheek, making her look like an adorable kitten. "I baked cookies for you. When are you coming to pick them up?" Looking at the photo, something stirred in my chest. "Wait for me. I'll come get them personally." I put down my phone and was just about to head out when I saw Margarita. She stood at the entrance of my villa. No idea how long she'd been there. She wore a sharp business suit, but there was a trace of exhaustion on her face that I had never seen before. "Something you need?" I leaned casually against the doorframe, expression indifferent. Margarita looked at me, her gaze tangled like a mess of thread. There was shock, confusion, and a faint trace of grievance even she herself hadn't realized was there. She saw Richie inside the living room chasing after a robot vacuum cleaner. She saw the Celadon brewing set, what she once considered proof of my insanity, quietly resting beneath the grapevines like a piece of artwork. She saw me dressed in comfortable home clothes, radiating a relaxed ease she had never witnessed before. Everything here felt alive, warm, comfortable. It formed a stark contrast against her own cold, empty villa filled with nothing but work reports. She opened her mouth as though she had countless questions, but in the end she only said, "Ezekiel's project was rejected by the Tang Group." "Oh," I nodded calmly. "As expected, you did it, didn't you?" She stared at me intensely. "What did I do?" I spread my hands innocently. "I merely gave a gift to an elderly man with similar tastes. If Ezekiel's proposal reads like an elementary school essay, how is that my fault?" Margarita was completely choked into silence. After all, business competition depended on skill. The Tang Group's official explanation was that Ezekiel's proposal looked flashy but lacked substance, with excessively high-risk evaluations. She couldn't find a single shred of evidence proving I had interfered, but her instincts told her that everything was somehow connected to the men standing before her, the same men she once believed she could control effortlessly. "Ethan, who exactly are you?" She finally asked the question that had haunted her for so long. "I'm your ex-husband," I smiled. "Margarita, you really do forget things easily. You were never like this before." Her emotions suddenly became agitated. "You used to bring me breakfast, memorize all my preferences, panic over a casual comment I made. Why have you changed into this?" I looked at her the way one might look at a child throwing a tantrum. "Margarita, are you questioning why I stopped being your simp?" I stepped closer, towering over her beneath my shadow. "Have you ever thought about how a normal man would react after being ignored, looked down on, and emotionally neglected by the woman he loved for 3 straight years? When I realized your heart already belonged to another man, yet you still accepted all my devotion like it was only natural, what do you think I was feeling? And when your so-called true love came back, you couldn't wait to throw me away with a check. What exactly did you expect from me then? To cling to your leg and beg you not to leave me?" With every sentence I spoke, Margarita's face grew paler. By the end, her entire body trembled lightly. All color drained from her lips. Chapter 10. Those words were like knives, tearing through the shell of coldness and rationality she had carefully wrapped around herself for years, exposing the bloody truth underneath. She had never once tried to see things from my perspective. She had always believed my devotion was only natural. I didn't. She tried to defend herself, only to realize her voice had become terrifyingly dry. "You didn't." I let out a cold laugh. "Margarita, you were just used to me treating you well, so when it disappeared, you felt uncomfortable. That isn't love. It's not even affection. It's called selfishness." After saying that, I stopped looking at her and turned to close the door. "Wait." Suddenly, she reached out and grabbed the corner of my shirt. The force wasn't strong, but it carried a trace of desperation. Then what about us?" She lifted her head. Those phoenix-like eyes that were always so cold and distant were now covered with a thin layer of mist. Do we still have a chance?" I looked at her in silence for a few seconds. Then, slowly, gently, I peeled her fingers away from my clothes one by one. "Margarita, do you know about garbage sorting? Expired relationships belong in the hazardous waste bin. Otherwise, they pollute the environment." Bang. The door shut firmly. All her shock, humiliation, and regret were sealed outside. As for me, I was off to pick up my cookies. Chapter 11. I drove through the city feeling as relaxed and clear as H-City's autumn sky. What I'd just said to Margarita wasn't only meant to slap her in the face. It was also my final farewell to the pathetic original owner of this body. From this moment onward, I was simply Ethan, an Ethan who only wanted to lie flat and enjoy life. Before long, I arrived at Letitia's house. She was already waiting outside like a little rabbit eagerly waiting for its owner to come home. The moment she saw my car, her eyes lit up and she jogged over. "You're here." She handed me a beautifully wrapped box, her face carrying a touch of shyness and anticipation. "Try them quickly and tell me if they taste good." I opened the box. Inside were golden brown cookies baked into adorable bear and star shapes, so cute they almost seemed too precious to eat. I picked up a little bear cookie and put it in my mouth. Rich buttery aroma, perfect sweetness without being overwhelming, crispy and delicate. "Well?" she asked nervously. "They're delicious." I praised her sincerely. "You could work as a dessert chef in a Michelin star restaurant." Her entire face turned red from the compliment. Lowering her head, she murmured softly, "I'm happy as long as you like them. It's not just liking them." I looked at her seriously. "I really love them." Her cheeks instantly became even redder, like ripe apples. "Oh, right." I took an elegant food container from the car. "A gift in return. My chef made these crab roe lion's head meatballs." "Wow." She opened the container, and a rich savory aroma immediately filled the air. "This is my favorite dish." "How did you know?" I guessed. I once again activated my universal excuse. In reality, I'd overheard her casually mention it during a phone call with her mother the last time I drove her home. Details. A man's greatest finishing move. Emotion shimmered in Letitia's eyes. "Ethan, you're so sweet." Average. Only ranked third in the world," I replied smoothly. She burst into cheerful laughter. Right then, her ragdoll cat Lucky gracefully walked out from the yard. The cat shot me a proud and disdainful glance before elegantly rubbing against Letitia's leg. At almost the exact same moment, my idiot dog Richie somehow managed to hit the window switch inside the car by himself and launched himself out like a missile. Then, with lightning speed, he charged straight toward Lucky and, slurp, one enormous lick right across the noble cat face. The situation instantly descended into chaos. Lucky looked utterly traumatized. All its fur exploded outward as it hissed threateningly. Meanwhile, Richie acted like a love-struck simp, circling around the cat non-stop with his tail wagging wildly while making ridiculous whining noises. "Richie, get back here," I shouted, laughing helplessly. Letitia crouched down too, soothing her feline overlord. Sorry, I apologized quickly. My dog's personality is a little overly enthusiastic. It's okay. Letitia gently stroked Lucky's fur and looked up at me with a smile. Honestly, I think they actually get along pretty well. I looked at the idiot dog bouncing around wildly and the tsundere cat that looked disgusted yet still refused to move away. Then I nodded deeply in agreement. Apparently, our pets had become soulmates before we had. The two of us simply crouched there by the roadside, watching the absurd cat and dog chaos while smiling at each other. The sunset bathed us in warm golden light, stretching our shadows across the ground. This was probably what peaceful happiness looked like. Unfortunately, there were always people who lacked basic manners enough to ruin the mood. A black Bentley slowly stopped beside us. The car window rolled down, revealing Ezekiel's gloomy face. The moment he saw Letitia and me crouching together so intimately, his eyes instantly turned venomous like a snake's. "Letitia," he said darkly, "why are you with him?" Chapter 12. Ezekiel's voice crashed into the warm atmosphere between us like a block of ice. Letitia stood up and greeted him politely but distantly. "Brother Ezekiel, didn't I tell you to stay away from him?" Ezekiel's gaze locked onto me, though his words were directed at Letitia. "Do you even know what kind of person he is?" "I know very well." Letitia stepped slightly forward, subtly shielding me behind her as she spoke firmly. "Ethan is my friend." That sentence again. My heart instantly felt warm, having a little angel protecting me. Not a bad feeling at all. "Friend," Ezekiel sneered as he stepped out of the car. "Letitia, you're far too naive. He's only getting close to you because of your family's power. He wants to use you against me and against the Sioux family." He turned toward me, hatred burning in his eyes. "Ethan, I really underestimated you. I thought you were just a brainless nouveau riche idiot. I didn't expect you to use such cheap tricks." I casually cleaned out my ear. "Finished?" I asked lazily. "If you're done, hurry up and leave. Standing here is hurting the city's appearance." "You." Ezekiel's face turned green with rage. "Ezekiel." Letitia frowned, genuine displeasure entering her voice. "Please show some respect. Ethan isn't the kind of person you claim he is. And besides, this is my personal business. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with you." Ezekiel was instantly speechless. He had always acted like Letitia's protective older brother, enjoying her admiration and dependence. Never once had he imagined that one day she would speak to him like this for another man. "Letitia, I'm doing this for your own good," he said painfully. "You've been deceived by him. Other than having some dirty money, what does this man even have? He's an ignorant loser who only knows how to eat, drink, and waste time." "He is not." Letitia immediately snapped back. "He understands music and poetry. He tells me historical stories I've never heard before. He's gentle and kind, and he remembers what I like to eat. He's not a loser at all." The girl's voice was crisp and clear, every word filled with fierce protectiveness. I leaned against the car with my arms crossed, listening as she defended me like a mother hen protecting her chicks, listing my good qualities one after another. This feeling, honestly, felt even better than making 100 millio. Ezekiel was completely dumbfounded. In his memory, Letitia had always been the soft, obedient little girl trailing behind him, calling him ease. Since when had she become this sharp-tongued? And the things she said, were they true? Ethan understood music, poetry. Impossible. Letitia, you. Enough. I couldn't listen anymore. If she kept praising me like this, I was afraid I'd propose to her on the spot. I stepped forward, gently pulling Letitia behind me as I faced Ezekiel directly. "Ezekiel, let me correct a few things for you. First, I'm not ignorant. I'm simply not interested in making money because I already have more money than I could spend in several lifetimes. Second, I don't just eat, drink, and fool around. I'm experiencing life. If life only revolved around profit and schemes, wouldn't it be unbearably boring? And third," I paused, then wrapped an arm around Letitia's shoulder and gently pulled her into my embrace. Her body stiffened for a moment before relaxing obediently against me. I lowered my head to look at her, my gaze so gentle it practically melted. "She is not someone you're allowed to touch." Then I raised my head again. The warmth vanished instantly from my eyes, replaced by a cold sharpness like a drawn blade pointed directly at Ezekiel. "If you harass her again, I guarantee that within 3 days, there won't be a Lin group left in H City." My voice wasn't loud, but it carried an unquestionable pressure. Ezekiel was visibly shaken by my presence and unconsciously took a step backward. He looked at the girl in my arms, her face flushed with shyness yet filled with absolute trust toward me. Then he looked at my calm, effortless sense of control. A poisonous fire called jealousy exploded wildly inside him. Why? Why could this loser he once trampled beneath his feet gain Margarita's lingering obsession? and now earn Letitia's wholehearted protection too. He refused to accept it. Chapter 13. Ethan, who the hell do you think you are? Do you think H-City belongs to your family? Ezekiel shouted, trying to sound intimidating despite clearly lacking confidence. More or less, I shrugged. In another 6 months, once those internet and biotech companies I'd casually invested in went public, saying H-City belonged to me wouldn't even count as bragging. Obviously, Ezekiel treated my words like an absurd joke. Fine, I'll wait and see. He pointed at me viciously. I'd love to watch how you make the Lin group disappear. And you too, Letitia, you'll regret this. After throwing out that threat, he jumped back into his car and sped away in panic, like a dog with its tail tucked between its legs. The moment he left, Letitia finally realized she was still in my arms. Her face instantly turned bright red like a tiny tomato. She tried to pull away, but I tightened my arms around her. Don't move. I lowered my head and whispered softly beside her ear. The tips of her ears visibly turned red at an astonishing speed. Thank you, I said seriously while looking into her eyes. Being protected without reservation. This was the first time in both my lives that I had ever experienced something like this. I didn't really do anything, she murmured shyly, unable to meet my gaze. To me, everything you did meant the world. Too many sweet words become cheesy, but at this moment, it was the most sincere thing I could possibly say. Letitia's body softened completely as she leaned fully against me. The scent of gardenias from her body mixed with the fragrance of her shampoo, creating a smell that made me feel strangely at peace. Holding her like this felt as though I had the entire world in my arms. After a long while, she finally lifted her head from my chest. Her deer-like eyes sparkled brightly as she looked at me. Ethan. My mom says we should come inside for dinner. The sudden shift in atmosphere happened so fast my brain nearly short-circuited. Your mom? Yeah. She nodded as though it were completely natural. She saw everything from behind the window just now. She said, since we're already hugging like this, you should take responsibility properly. So you should come inside and make the relationship official over dinner. I was speechless. Auntie, you are truly heaven-sent backup. Following Letitia Mu, I stepped into the Mu family home for the very first time. The house was decorated in a traditional Chinese style, elegant and classical, with a faint scent of sandalwood lingering in the air. Letitia's parents sat solemnly on the living room sofa, both staring directly at me. The atmosphere felt exactly like a courtroom trial. Good evening, Uncle and Auntie. I braced myself and handed over the food container I'd brought. Letitia's mother opened it for a glance, and her expression softened slightly. At least you put some thought into it. Meanwhile, Letitia's father adjusted his glasses and examined me sharply. Ethan, right, I've heard of you. The Su family's former son-in-law. Quite famous in H-City lately, aren't you? You flatter me, Uncle. It's all just empty reputation, I replied modestly. Empty reputation? Letitia's father snorted coldly. Spending $20 million on a dog bowl isn't exactly empty reputation. I instantly lost the ability to speak. Apparently, my legendary achievements had already spread throughout the parents' social circles too. Dad, Letitia protested unhappily as she ran over to hug his arm and act cute. Stop scaring him. Ethan's really wonderful. A daughter truly was her father's weakness from a past life. The sternness on Letitia's father's face visibly softened. Whether he's good or not isn't determined by words alone. He looked at me seriously. Young people with money tend to lose themselves easily. I don't care what kind of person you used to be, but if you ever dare hurt our Letitia, I guarantee you won't be able to stay in H-City. Now this threat was leagues above Ezekiel's pathetic attempts. I straightened my posture and gave him a sincere bow. Please don't worry, Uncle. I never will. I would never hurt her. I would only spoil her rotten. Chapter 14. The dinner at the Mu family home was probably the most nerve-wracking meal I'd had across both my lifetimes. Although Letitia's father kept a stern face the entire time, her mother was unbelievably enthusiastic, constantly piling food onto my plate and asking whether I was warm enough, full enough, comfortable enough. She treated me even more affectionately than my own mother. Meanwhile, Letitia sat beside me, sneaking glances at me every now and then before lowering her head and secretly smiling to herself. By the end of the meal, I felt less like a guest and more like officially stamped pork waiting for an auspicious date to be sent to the slaughterhouse. No, to the altar of marriage. After dinner, Letitia's father called me into the study and played a game of chess with me. His style was aggressive and domineering, every move overflowing with killing intent. Meanwhile, I calmly countered every attack, defending flawlessly without leaving openings. When the match ended, neither of us had won. For the first time, Letitia's father looked at me with a trace of approval. Your temperament is fairly steady. He lifted his teacup slowly. We spoiled Letitia too much growing up. She's pure-hearted like a blank sheet of paper. If I entrust her to you, don't make her cry. I won't. I made the promise again. By the time I left the Mu residence, it was already 10 at night. Letitia walked me to the entrance. Under the moonlight, her face looked soft and beautiful like a painting. My dad didn't make things too hard for you, right? She asked softly. No, I smiled. He just told me to treat you well. I reached out and gently tapped her nose. So, Miss Letitia, would you be willing to give me the chance to treat you well for the rest of my life? 2 bright blushes instantly bloomed across her cheeks. She nodded shyly, her voice softer than a mosquito's hum. MHM. My heart trembled, unable to resist any longer. I lowered my head and kissed her lips. They were exactly as I'd imagined. Soft, sweet, carrying the faint taste of cookies. The kiss was light and gentle, yet it hit me like an electric current. Right at that moment, an extremely mood-killing phone call rang. Cole. Young Master Chan. It exploded. Everything exploded. He screamed incoherently. What exploded? I reluctantly pulled away from that soft sweetness. Our stock price. It exploded. Cole roared through the phone. That gaming company you told me to acquire, the one that was practically bankrupt, just released a new game. It became an overnight nationwide sensation. Our stock hit the daily limit instantly. It increased tenfold. Tenfold. Young Master Chan. I paused for a moment. Oh right, that game. Kings. Back then, I'd simply noticed the company was close to collapse, casually told Cole to buy it, threw in some money, and promptly forgot about it. Didn't expect results this quickly. Got it, I answered calmly. Why you just got it? Cole sounded dumbfounded. Young Master Chan, that's tens of billions. Is tens of billions really that much? I asked back. Then I lowered my gaze toward the girl in my arms, her cheeks red, her eyes dreamy and dazed. She was my true priceless treasure. Don't bother me with minor issues like this in the future. I hung up directly. I'm busy dating. On the other side of the call, Cole stood there holding the phone while his soul drifted away in the wind. Tens of billions was considered a minor issue. Once again, poverty had limited his imagination. Naturally, the news spread everywhere almost immediately. Hashtag Ethan turns everything into gold. Hashtag how to become a billionaire by lying flat. Hashtag Ethan didn't wake up today but his net worth rose again. Hashtag one absurd trending topic after another completely dominated the internet. I had fully transformed from the gigolo living off his ex-wife into the god of investment and a mysterious financial titan in everyone's eyes. Countless financial reporters wanted interviews. Countless business tycoons wanted connections. All of them were blocked by Cole. My response to every request consisted of only one sentence. No time. Busy dating. Those few words were more destructive than any business proposal ever written, because they instantly ignited another massive trending topic. Hashtag Ethan's girlfriend. Hashtag. The entire internet started trying to figure out which heavenly goddess had managed to tame this monster. Before long, someone uncovered Letitia Mu's identity. Daughter of the Mu Group, top student at a prestigious university, a beautiful little fairy with both brains and kindness. Holy crap. This is what a power couple looks like. Looks, family background, talent, they match perfectly in every category. Wah. I'm heartbroken, but I completely accept my defeat. Only a fairy like this deserves our Ethan. The internet overflowed with blessings and congratulations. Meanwhile, inside the president's office of the Su Group, Margarita Su stared at the photo on her phone showing Letitia and me kissing beneath the streetlights. Her fingers clenched around the phone so tightly that her knuckles turned white. In the photograph, the man was handsome, the woman radiant. The scene was so beautiful it resembled an oil painting, and her heart felt as though an invisible hand had grabbed it violently, squeezing until she could barely breathe. Chapter 15. Regret. Margarita asked herself that question, and the answer was yes. Yes, she regretted it. From the very moment I signed the divorce agreement without the slightest hesitation, she had already begun regretting it, but her pitiful pride never allowed her to admit it. She thought I was only pretending to play hard to get. She thought that as long as she turned around, I would come running back to her side wagging my tail like before. But she was wrong. Not only did I never return, I rose in a way she was completely incapable of understanding, so high that now she could only look up at me from below. And by my side, there was already another girl, one far gentler, far more capable of cherishing my love. Margarita opened a drawer. Inside was a small box. Resting within it was a pair of men's cufflinks. 3 years earlier, she had anonymously bought them at an auction as a gift for our wedding anniversary. But that very day, a phone call from Ezekiel had made her completely forget about it. And the cufflinks remained there, abandoned in the drawer for 3 whole years. Just like that belated love she never confessed, and now would never have the chance to confess. She picked up her phone and dialed a number she knew by heart. The ringtone echoed for a long time before someone finally answered. Yes. It was my voice, lazy, relaxed, like someone who had just woken up. It's me. Margarita's voice sounded hoarse and exhausted. Oh, President Su. My tone was utterly indifferent, as though I were speaking to an ordinary business partner. Do you need something? She wanted to say something, but she realized thousands of words were stuck in her throat. Say, I'm sorry. Too empty. Say, I regret it. Too ridiculous. Say, let's start over. She had no right to say that. If it's nothing important, I'm hanging up. My girlfriend is still waiting for me to have breakfast. My patience was nearly non-existent. Wait. She shouted hurriedly. Ethan. I just wanted to ask you something. Did you ever love me? Even just a little? Asking that question had consumed almost all her strength. She was like a prisoner waiting for a sentence, holding her breath as she waited for my answer. On the other end of the call, there was silence. Every second felt like an entire century. Just when she thought I would not answer, I let out a faint laugh. Margarita, have you ever heard of Schrödinger's cat? She froze. Before the box is opened, the cat is both alive and dead at the same time. It exists in a superposition of possibilities. My feelings for you were the same. Before you personally pushed that divorce agreement in front of me, before you opened that box called The End, perhaps they really did exist. My voice was calm. So calm that it sounded cruel. But now the box has already been opened. I paused slightly, then delivered the final verdict. The cat died. After that, I hung up. Margarita held the phone as she slowly collapsed onto the cold office floor. And finally, the tears shattered the last dam restraining them. Curled up in the corner of that enormous empty office, she cried bitterly like a child abandoned by the entire world. Because at last, she understood. She had completely lost me. She herself had killed the cat that once looked at her with absolute love in its eyes. Chapter 16. My life finally returned to normal. Or rather, it entered the kind of life I had always dreamed of. Every morning, I had breakfast together with Letitia. After that, I would accompany her to class, or we would spend time reading together in the library. At noon, I enjoyed meals carefully prepared by master chefs specializing in the 8 great traditional cuisines. In the afternoons, I exercised, swam, played with the dog, and took the cat out for walks. At night, I played chess and chatted with Letitia's father, or curled up beside her on the sofa watching old movies. Under Cole's management, my company prospered day after day, continuously creating new financial legends. After losing the Tang family's project, the Lin Group suffered blow after blow. Their capital chain eventually collapsed, and they finally declared bankruptcy. Ezekiel Lin himself ended up in prison for commercial fraud and unfair competition. Everything happened almost exactly like it did in the original novel, and yet, at the same time, completely differently, because this time, I was no longer the side character trampled beneath everyone else's feet. I was the player observing the chessboard from above the clouds, smiling as I moved the pieces. As for Margarita, I hadn't heard anything about her in a long time. Only occasionally would I see financial news reports saying that the Su Group had missed several major opportunities due to poor decisions, causing its market value to shrink considerably. She was still the cold and untouchable CEO, but on that icy face, there no longer seemed to be even the slightest trace of a smile. That day, Letitia and I were walking along the beach. The setting sun dyed the sea gold while seagulls cried in the distance. Richie and Lucky ran and played across the sand in perfect harmony. Ethan. Suddenly, Letitia stopped and looked up at me. Let's get married. Her eyes reflected the golden sunset, shining even brighter than the stars. I froze completely. Wasn't the man supposed to be the one proposing? Have you really thought this through? Yes, she nodded firmly. I don't want to wait any longer. I want to wake up every morning and have the first person I see be you. I want your name to be in my family register. I looked at her as an indescribable warmth filled my chest. How lucky I was to have met a girl so pure, passionate, and brave. I slowly knelt on one knee and took a small velvet box out of my pocket. Inside was a ring I had been preparing for a very long time. Letitia, even though you stole my proposal line, I still want to ask you properly myself. I looked up at her and smiled softly. Would you marry a guy like me, a professional lie-flat king who's a little bad sometimes? She smiled as tears rolled down her cheeks and nodded repeatedly. Yes, I will. I accept. I slipped the ring onto her finger. Then I stood up and pulled her tightly into my arms. In the distance, the sun slowly disappeared beneath the horizon, leaving the sky covered in red and golden clouds. And at that moment, I understood something. True happiness is not about possessing the power to destroy the world, nor is it about having wealth greater than that of an entire nation. True happiness is living life the way you want to live it, having the food you want to eat, the wine you want to drink, the scenery you want to admire, and someone whom you want to love. With that, it is more than enough.